Have you ever felt like you really truly know a creator you follow online, even though you've never actually met? Yeah, you're definitely not alone. We're about to get into the science behind these digital friendships, so let's just dive right in.
I mean, really think about it. That streamer whose entire schedule you've memorized, that YouTuber whose inside jokes you use with your real-life friends. It feels like a genuine connection, right? This is a huge, and I mean huge, part of how we socialize now. And this whole one-sided friendship thing is so common that, well, of course, psychologists have a name for it.
It's called a parasocial relationship. It's that feeling of knowing someone, of being close to them, even though all of your interaction happens through a screen. You feel that intimacy, that familiarity, but it's almost entirely a one-way street. And this isn't just some quirky internet thing. It carries real emotional weight for a lot of people.
So, to really get to the bottom of what's going on here, we're turning to the work of Dr. Rony A. Rodas. His specialty is literally how we humans use and interact with new technologies. So yeah, he is the perfect person to guide us through this. And we're not just talking about one person's hot take here. Dr. Rodas did the heavy lifting. He looked at and synthesized the findings from 140 different studies. We're talking peer-reviewed articles, reports, the whole shebang. And he did it all to answer one massive question that affects pretty much all of us.
So what's the deal? Are these digital friendships a lifeline for people who feel lonely, helping us connect? Or are they actually a trap that's just pushing us deeper into isolation? Well, as the research shows, the answer is, it's complicated.
First up, let's look at the positive side. Why do these relationships feel so good? Why are we so drawn to them? Turns out there are some really good reasons, and the research highlights two major themes on the plus side.
Okay, so the first theme, and honestly the most common reason people form these bonds, taps into one of our most basic human needs.
It's all about companionship. Just that simple feeling of having someone there with you, even if they're just on a screen, can be incredibly powerful. It's about feeling a real sense of intimacy, even if you know deep down it's one-sided. And these aren't just vague feelings. The benefits are very real. The studies show that viewers report feeling genuinely seen and understood, especially if a creator is open about their own struggles. For anyone who feels a bit on the outside in their offline life, this sense of belonging can be an absolute lifeline, a source of real comfort that cuts through that feeling of loneliness.
All right, let's move on to the second major positive theme. This one is less about the creator and more about what the act of watching does for us psychologically.
Yep, it's about managing our emotions. We fire up a stream or a video to de-stress after a long day, to get a distraction, to just escape for a little while. But this is exactly where things start to get a little tricky, where a very fine line starts to appear. This slide just lays it out perfectly. It's a total double-edged sword. On one hand, you have the healthy break. Using content to decompress for a bit, that's a great coping mechanism. But on the other hand, it can become an unhealthy crutch, something you use to constantly put off dealing with real-world problems. It's the difference between a temporary escape and just chronic avoidance. And that idea of an unhealthy crutch leads us right to the other side of the story. So what happens when we invest too much in these digital friendships? What are the actual risks when we start to rely on them a little too heavily? The first major risk that came up again and again in the research is something that I think a lot of us might have felt a twinge of at some point. It's called the displacement effect. It's a fancy way of saying that the time and the emotional energy we pour into our online world can start to push out or displace the relationships we have in the physical world. And the data shows this isn't just a theory. People in these studies admitted to skipping hangouts with their actual friends so they could catch a live stream. They talked about feeling more emotionally caught up in a creator's drama than in what's going on with their own family. And this effect is especially strong for people who already deal with social anxiety. Because, let's face it, the low-stakes online world can feel a heck of a lot safer than face-to-face interaction.
And that brings us to the final and maybe the most intense risk that the research uncovered when things go too far.
Boundary erosion. This is what happens when the lines between being a fan and something else get really, really blurry. It can lead to an overdependence that has some pretty serious emotional fallout. In the more extreme cases, a viewer might start to feel a sense of entitlement or even ownership over the creator. So when that creator does something unexpected, gets a new partner, changes their content, takes a break, the viewer can feel this profound sense of betrayal. The pain is real. It's often described as feeling just as awful as a real-life breakup. So how common is all this really?
This chart does a great job of putting it all in perspective based on those 140 studies. You can see the positive themes, companionship and emotional regulation, are way up there. They happen a lot. But then you look at the negative stuff. Displacement is there in the middle, and boundary erosion is lower for sure, but it is not zero. It's low but significant. The potential for harm is absolutely real.
Okay, so we've got the benefits and we've got the risks. Where does that leave us? How are we supposed to navigate all this? The great thing is, the research doesn't just point out the problems, it actually offers a way forward, a framework for finding a healthy balance.
And this slide right here gets to the absolute heart of it. The key is whether you're using these connections as a bridge or as a replacement. A bridge is when you take that online passion and use it to find offline activities or friends who share it. A replacement is when you let the online content substitute for real-world connection. And that choice, it makes all the difference.
So, based on all this, Dr. Rodas lays out 3 really clear recommendations. First, we have to stop dismissing these feelings as fake or silly. They are emotionally real, period. Second, we have to practice self-monitoring. Just check in with yourself and ask, is watching this making me feel supported, or is it just helping me avoid my life? And third, and this is the big one, actively look for ways to build bridges to the offline world, not walls.
So I'll leave you with the same core question that drives this research. It's not about deciding if these connections are good or bad. It's about figuring out what they're doing for you. So take an honest look and ask yourself, is your digital world supporting your real world, or is it replacing it?